Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and I've had my Marshall JTM Studio and the Fryette attenuator for about 8 or 9 weeks now, so I thought I would sort of come in and do a sort of pros and cons check-in, if you like, of how I've been getting on with it. What I'm going to do is get straight onto some sounds, just in case you haven't heard it already. I'm going to use this guitar. I'm going to have my light speed on all the time, and then just use the volume controls to kind of bring up the gain levels. And I'll chuck on some other effects kind of as we go on, and I'll pop them up on screen. If you do want to hear this with single coils, the last video I did was this same setup with just a Stratocaster. But I am trying a different microphone this time. You're going to hear a condenser mic mixed in with the room a little bit. We'll get onto all of that after the sounds. So, like I said, let's go for some sounds, and then we'll get onto the pros and cons. And so you heard the way this thing has been sounding there. I could have gone on for forever with stuff like that, you know, just playing along like I do off camera all the time with this setup. So just so you know as well, I forgot to mention the amp settings. So we've got the 2 volumes, they are jumpered. We've got the high treble channel is on 6, normal is on 2, and then and we were on the high mode as well. Presence is right in the middle at sort of 5, bass is on 2, middle is on 4, and treble is on 4. That's how and I kind of leave it like that no matter what really. But what you really have to bear in mind is that with the Fryette, even though the amps are cranked, because that would be seriously loud on this amplifier, like louder than a drummer loud. But with the Fryette, in here, I can play all of those sounds you just heard, you know, all day long, all night long, volume-wise, in this house, and it's absolutely fine. The Fryette is, you know, it is the attenuator to have. So in terms of all of that, the sounds I've been getting, the volume levels, etc., etc., I could not be happier. Like I said, when I'm just playing to myself off camera, whether I'm riffing like I was in the video, learning some licks, just enjoying different guitars and stuff, I think it's the best sound I've had for my whole 7-8 years of guitar playing. This setup for me is a pinnacle. And that's the pros, and what bigger pro could there be? Because when you're buying stuff and chasing sounds, that is the end goal, isn't it? Is give me the sound that I'm looking for, in, you know, what sound is in my head. And all of this with the board, it just works perfectly. But there are some cons. One that is just very much so a niche con for me, and one that might be some of you might agree with. I'll just put a little clip in now of the idle noise of this setup. I'll have the volume control turned down on the guitar, because the Fryette and the amplifier on its own, they do have like a noise floor to it. So I'll let you hear that just now. So that might be a con for some people, you know, having that kind of permanent noise floor just underneath things. To me personally, it doesn't actually bother me at all. And in actual fact, I kind of quite like it, because once everything's on, and when you turn the Fryette on, there's like a real big clunk to the power button, and it sort of comes to life. I like it. I think it's kind of cool. It's a bit old school sort of thing, but worth mentioning, you know, in case any of you out there, you know, you want whisper quiet all the time, this does make some noise. So the other con to it, and this is where it's not going to affect many of you, but for me it is a con, and I'm maybe there's someone out there watching this that can actually help me with this. So I've already said I'm really happy with the way it sounds, you know, playing away on my own, more than happy. When it comes to recording it for videos, because I do want to sit here with all this running in my videos, you know, I quite like to be known as the guy that, you know, he's always using his amplifier. There's never IRs, there's never this, there's never that. At least you're hearing real amps and real mics all the time. I like that sort of thing. The problem I'm having is I've got 2 microphones. I've got an SM57 and I've got this condenser mic here, which off the top of my head, I don't even know what it is actually. It's just, I know it's a condenser microphone. And I've sort of used it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times so far if you go back through the videos, trying different things. And what I've recorded, including what I recorded today, isn't quite right to how it sounds in this room. And where I'm sat right now, which is less than a guitar whip's distance from the amplifier, I've got about the same again to the corner where you are, and that's all the space I've got. And because I'm not loud, like I said, the Fryette is bringing that volume right down. If I use the condenser mic, you're hearing a lot of the guitar noise, more of it than I'm hearing in the room through that condenser mic, because it just picks everything up. And that's kind of changing the sound. And then if I use the 57 on its own, I never found the 57 on its own it's a sound that's great in a mix, but isolated guitar just doesn't really work. So I'm really struggling, and this is partly the reason for the lack of videos in the last 8-9 weeks. I'm really struggling to capture this amp the way I want it for YouTube videos that you listen to, kind of thing, because I know I'm not doing it justice with the recording I'm doing now. So there must be someone out there who kind of has this problem. They're recording with reasonably quiet amps in a reasonably small room. There must be a mic combination or a, you know, it's just something I'm missing, you know. some people think miking up amps is really easy, and some people find it really easy. But honestly, to me, I find miking up amps, knowing what mics to use, exactly where to put them, or what combination of mics, all of that stuff is like it's a dark art. If you can do it well, you've got a serious skill, because I am struggling with it. So for me, it's a personal con, because like I said, I'm more than happy with the way this thing sounds. I love the way it sounds. It's just when it comes to capturing that sound without using IRs, I'm completely against IRs. I'm not into it, don't like it, don't want to go there. But at the same time, I can kind of see why so many people do when you're in this sort of situation. So overall, very positive, but just with, because like I said, coming from the Kemper before, that's very easy, because you're just hearing a direct sound kind of thing, and it just works. But this, very, very, very different ball game to record with. If you're never going to record yourself ever, and you're just looking for great sounds, happy days. All of this doesn't matter. But yeah, just struggling with the recording side of things. So if anyone out there has any good advice, let me know in the comments below. So that's it. That's a little update on how I'm getting on with the Marshall and the Fryette. Overall, no regrets at all, even though it did financially kill me, to be fair. But it's all good. So hopefully I will see you again in another one very, very soon.